to be a simple off-season TV role for Caitlin Clark is actually a major power shift in basketball media. While she recovers from injury and stays connected to the game through broadcasting, this move goes far beyond one player getting screen time. NBC has made a bold challenge to ESPN's two-decade grip on basketball coverage by securing the biggest draw in the sport, even though ESPN had the chance to keep her. Instead of offering a few guest spots, NBC built an entire primetime franchise around Clark with Basketball Night in America, modeled after its successful football show, and launched her on one of the biggest stages in the sport at Madison Square Garden before a marquee Lakers vs. Knicks game, making it clear this is a statement of intent, not a trial run. For years, ESPN owned basketball coverage through NBA and WNBA rights, while others competed for attention. But NBC moved decisively at the most critical moment in women's basketball. As the league's popularity surges, Clark's cultural influence peaks, and league contracts are being reshaped. NBC is backing this push with a top-tier studio team and treating Clark as the centerpiece of a long-term strategy, locking her into recurring appearances throughout the NBA season to bridge the gap before the next WNBA campaign, positioning itself to reshape how basketball is covered, while ESPN is left asking how such a pivotal opportunity slipped away. While ESPN sits comfortably on its existing WNBA contracts, NBC is actively building a direct bridge to the most magnetic personality in basketball by forming a deep, long-term relationship with Caitlin Clark that could reshape how the sport is covered. NBC even compared her to Michael Jordan in its press release, not just for hype, but because they believe her regular presence, real analysis, and consistent visibility can drive far more impact than Jordan's limited past involvement ever did. By securing both her studio appearances and major WNBA broadcast rights, NBC has created a full media ecosystem around Clark, covering her both on and off the court, effectively locking ESPN out of the most marketable star in women's basketball. ESPN's silence around the deal is telling, as they had every chance to act, but chose to wait, assuming their legacy position would protect them, while NBC moved fast, recognized the market shift, and framed Clark as a basketball authority, not just a women's league crossover. With NBC's massive reach placing Clark on the same platform used for the biggest football broadcasts, her voice will now reach millions of casual fans during her injury recovery, allowing her to build media skills, grow her audience, and return to the court as an even bigger figure, a strategic advantage that leaves ESPN watching from the sidelines. If ESPN was outbid and outmaneuvered, it shows their long-held monopoly over basketball media is beginning to crack, and either way, the situation should deeply worry them. NBC's choice of February 1st for Caitlin Clark's analyst debut is especially strategic, using a Lakers vs. Knicks game at Madison Square Garden, one of the most high-profile regular season matchups possible between two historic franchises in the world's most famous arena, to launch her on the biggest stage rather than easing her in during a low-pressure, low-visibility broadcast. At the same time, NBC is integrating this move into a broader streaming strategy by placing all Basketball Night in America content on Peacock, a model they have already proven can drive massive subscriber growth through exclusive NFL playoff games, and now they are applying the same playbook to basketball by using Clark as the key attraction to pull fans into their ecosystem. In contrast, ESPN's basketball content is spread across platforms without the same sense of exclusivity, while NBC is creating true appointment viewing centered around the most magnetic personality in the sport. Behind the scenes, industry whispers suggest ESPN may have explored a similar role for Clark, but treated it like a routine talent acquisition, whereas NBC framed her as the cornerstone of an entire primetime basketball franchise, a difference in vision that likely influenced her decision. NBC's press release further reinforces this strategy by placing Clark alongside established legends like Maria Taylor, Carmelo Anthony, Vince Carter, and Tracy McGrady, signaling that she is being positioned as a peer whose basketball insight can stand shoulder to shoulder with Hall of Fame minds, not as a novelty presence. Beyond the broadcasts themselves, the business implications stretch into the uncertain future of the WNBA, as ongoing collective bargaining negotiations and looming deadlines create questions about the timing and structure of the next season, making NBC's early investment in Clark's media presence even more consequential for shaping the next phase of basketball. NBC signing Caitlin Clark to a broadcasting role during a period of labor and CBA uncertainty creates real leverage for both sides, because if negotiations drag on, the season is delayed, or any dispute disrupts play, Clark still has a powerful platform where she can earn, grow her brand, and remain visible, something ESPN does not offer to any WNBA player in the same way. Fans have already started connecting these dots, with social media buzzing about whether this partnership could eventually evolve into a full-time broadcasting path after her playing career, a long-term exclusive relationship with NBC across studio and game coverage, or even something bigger like a signature show or production deal, all of which overwhelmingly benefit NBC while leaving ESPN on the outside looking in. What makes Clark uniquely valuable in this role is not just her star power, but her elite basketball IQ, as she doesn't merely produce highlights, but deeply understands spacing, defensive schemes, offensive orchestration, and in-game adjustments, allowing her to break down strategy from the perspective of an active player who is still competing at the highest level, a dual viewpoint that is far more immediate and insightful than that of retired analysts. At the same time, NBC is clearly betting on the explosive growth of the WNBA itself, with attendance records shattered, viewership surging for marquee games, and merchandise sales soaring, much of that momentum driven by Clark's arrival and sustained excellence, which didn't just move the needle, but fundamentally reset expectations for what women's basketball can be in the mainstream sports market. ESPN, despite holding more WNBA broadcast rights, either failed to recognize this opportunity or hesitated to act on it, a strategic misstep that now looks costly as the competitive media landscape shifts. With the launch of Basketball Night in America, NBC suddenly presents a direct rival to ESPN's long-standing basketball studio dominance, backed by a massive promotional machine that can push Clark's appearances across Sunday Night Football, morning shows, and its entire broadcast ecosystem in a way ESPN simply cannot replicate because it lacks a figure with her current cultural pull. ESPN may still have respected analysts and legendary voices, but it no longer controls the one player everyone most wants to hear from right now, and that signals a deeper change in how media power in basketball is structured. Clark's move to NBC is not a sideshow, but a main event, a reminder that for 2 decades, ESPN built dominance through access, relationships, and spending power, yet that strategy has vulnerabilities when a transformational figure emerges and a competitor moves faster and with a clearer vision. NBC offered Clark something ESPN either couldn't or wouldn't, a franchise built around her voice, perspective, and influence, and when the spotlight hits, the world will be watching to see if she delivers, while ESPN will be forced to confront exactly what it lets slip away.